Hi, this is Chuck Sutherland from the Real Estate Experts Summit. Today, we have a well-known sales trainer. His name is Jim Padilla. He's founder of Gain the Edge and teaches people how to make make sales in any industry in a way that really makes a difference for both the client and the people making the request. So, Jim, welcome to our summit.
Thanks for having me, Chuck. Really glad to be here.
Our pleasure. So, Jim, why don't you just give us the rundown on what it takes to make successful sales in one's business?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, First of all, it doesn't take what a lot of people typically think it does. Most people think you have to be a sales guru. You got to be a sales expert. You got to master techniques and tactics and strategies. And while yes, it's important to know what you're doing, it's certainly helpful. But there's multiple paths to being able to master the art of winning customers. And the good news is most people have been doing it your whole life. Everybody watching this right now, you have been selling every day of your life, all day long, for your whole life. That's just a simple matter, right? You had to sell your spouse on marrying you. You had to sell your kids on picking up the shoes and eating their vegetables and doing their homework. You sell your friends on going to see the latest, greatest movie. You sell your spouse on why you should go to this restaurant versus that one, or where do you want to go on vacation. Sell your neighbors to not park in your driveway. Whatever it might be, you're selling all day long. And I got news for you. You didn't have a script and you didn't have a funnel. You just had you being the best version of you, showing up, being careful and cautious and serving other people and telling them the truth. But then when we get into a sales conversation in a business setting, all of a sudden we lose our mind and we start thinking that we have to be a certain way. We put on that sales robot hat and we think we have to become something that we're actually not. And then we're surprised when we don't convert people left and right. And it's because nobody buys anything before they buy you. So they have to buy you first and foremost. And they're going to do that when you're showing up as the actual best version of yourself. The truth sells like nothing else. So, raise your hand if you want more sales, right? I'm assuming y'all got your hands up. You should have two. But then raise your hand if you want to become a great salesperson, right? If your hand's up, I'm going to say you're lying. Nobody wants to become a great salesperson because that requires a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of effort, a lot of stress, and a lot of output and mastery. And quite honestly, most of you are never going to do that. That's like saying, I want a six pack. I played college baseball. I was 185 pounds, 5'8", just clean and ripped. I'm clearly not that anymore. And I would love to be. I want to be 189 pounds, clean and ripped. But I don't want to do the work necessary to become that. So I have settled in at a little bit north figure of that, right? And this is what we do in sales. We know what's required, what we think is required, right? And then we know what we have to try to do to get that level of mastery, that level of perfection, practicing and rewriting and honing in on your scripts and what needs to be happening to follow a blueprint or a 10-step process of some kind. The problem is you're busy chasing your business. You're busy chasing clients. You're busy serving your family and leading your movement. You don't have time to be a sales guru and put all that into place. Not to mention, I Googled recently sales scripts and I had 162 million responses returned in 0.43 seconds. What that really tells you is scripts are everywhere and they're nothing special. And here's the good news. Most people who wrote scripts wrote them for themselves, for their market, for their offer, for their price point, for the people that they serve. And then they sell it to you to try to tweak it and master it for yourself. The problem is it wasn't written for you, wasn't created for you, your marketplace, your offer, your price point, or anything like that. And no script is going to tell you how to be you. No script is going to be able to get you to veer off course and be able to take a conversation wherever it needs to go. Most scripts and sales processes are busy telling you what to say. I want to get you focused on how to think instead of what to say. Because if you're thinking the right thing and you're being the right person, you'll always find the right things to say to be of value and of service to the people that you connect with. So, does that make sense, Chuck?
Yep. And you know, I do know people want value and service, and they don't want to be sold on something. Uh, but they want the thing that you're selling them.
Amen. Amen. And, you know, something that's interesting is that when you are just purely focused on telling the truth, a lot of times that's going to put you in a position to say some things that you may not really want to say, or that they might not want to hear, but is usually the most important thing that needs to be said in the moment. And a lot of times it starts with telling truth to yourself, right? Because when we tell ourselves the truth, we can say, okay, I'm only so good as a salesperson, or I'm only X level of expert at this field, but I'm on my way to becoming the best. And when you say things like that to people, they resonate, right? They're going to like, you know what? I like where this person is because he's telling me the truth. He's not trying to oversell me on things that he can't actually deliver on. And something I give everybody expressed permission at all times is to own the fact that you're not a world-class sales expert. Now, you can get away with that. I can't. It's kind of what I do for a living. So I'm going to give you permission to get on the phone with anybody you need to, or have that meeting and tell them, look, I'm a world-class investor. I'm a world-class real estate expert. I'm not so good at selling it though. So forgive me as I stumble my way through this presentation. Is that okay with you? What do you think is going to happen when you say something like that to somebody on the other end of the phone?
You're probably going to breathe relief and fresh air.
Exactly. And I actually did this. I spent 12 years as a mortgage broker. And the first loan that I ever did back in 2000 was in a really one of the poorest areas of Sacramento area where I live, called North Highlands, very, very low property values. And I closed the loan. My first loan was $94,000. And as you can imagine, I didn't make a ton of money on that. It was actually a small enough check that you could count all the pennies. And at the same day, my friend Cliff, who closed a loan that started the same week mine did, closed it. He closed his for $2.2 million in Wexford Estates, which is where the high end of Sacramento area, where a lot of the Sacramento Kings players live. Same amount of time, same amount of work. Actually, I probably worked harder. And he made a $14,000 check. I made an $840 check. And the difference on those was after that happened, I realized, okay, I have to play a bigger game, but I didn't have all the experience. This was the first loan I ever did. All my knowledge was book knowledge. And I decided I wanted those loans. So I went out to Wexford Estates and I found me a builder, found a gentleman named Rob who was a builder who was doing 4 custom home builds a year. And he'd forgotten more about mortgage than I already knew. And he just wanted somebody who could help be his partner in facilitating these deals. I did not have to be the expert. Matter of fact, because I wasn't the expert, he really appreciated that I didn't present myself as one. I just told him what I was expert at was finding the holes and leaning on incredible people, and that I had 250 years worth of brokerage leadership in my office, and I would make sure his stuff gets walked to the front of the line, and that anything that needed eyeballs on it, I would make sure there were 20. He said, awesome, just don't ever lie to me. And I did 5 loans with him over the course of the next year, got introductions and referrals and all that, not because I was the expert, because I was the opposite, mostly just because I was honest and truthful, right? So that's something that we all have to buy into. It's a tough thing to understand, especially in the money game. When you're dealing with finance, it's really easy to think you have to position yourself as something you're not, because you think that the people on the other end of the phone want to see you as the spit and polished, shine, perfected investor. And quite honestly, the 2 things that embarrass most people if they don't know about it is money and sex. So if you put somebody in a room and make them feel incompetent around money or incompetent around sex, they're just much more likely to slither off into the darkness before they ask you a question that's going to make them look foolish. So when you show up as the person who's there to help them solve their problem, not showing up as the guru of all money, you're going to do a lot more effective relationship building. And I remember listening on one of your podcasts, Chuck, in an interview, you were talking about being a deal maker and a relationship builder, not talking about being a sales closing person. You're just building relationships, and the sales happen as a result and a byproduct of the relationships. And you're literally singing my jam, because that's what I do all day.
Yeah. So, and mostly we're taught in just from the people who are around that you got to put on the best show, you got to have the best shine shoes, you got to be able to sing the patter. In the old days, you used to have to drink the other guy under the table. You had to be a man, and you couldn't say that you didn't know everything. It was a whole you're a whole new way of thinking uh, about actually doing anything, but particularly about selling.
For sure. For sure. So here's something I want everybody to think about. Okay. If you're willing to admit that you don't know everything that you think you know about sales, you'll be willing to explore some different possibilities. And can I do a screen share on this here? Or
Sure,
is everybody going to be watching on
absolutely.
video? Okay, perfect.
I'll make you a hold on. I'll make you
I think I can.
I got to do this first. Make
Got
a
it.
There you go.
Okay.
Be good. You'll be
So
good, man.
here's something that stumbled across about 3-4 years ago. It's something I was doing intuitively, but then I put a process to it after I came across this. My wife and I went to Silver State Falls up in Oregon. We wanted a vacation. She's a hiker, an outdoors person. I'm really not. I go outdoors when I go golfing. That's about it. But she said, let's go on this hike. And so there was this 8-mile hike where you walk through 11 waterfalls. And it was nice. I'm glad she talked me into it. But one thing I noticed with all these waterfalls was that they all went through a very similar process. And I'll show you a very crude experiment here because my writing is horrible. But basically what happened is we saw these falls that were continuous. And one thing that happened, whether it was a 14-foot fall or a 80-foot fall, or the tallest one I saw was a 160-foot fall, they all had the same characteristics. Far enough upstream, it was still. The water was basically floating. Things were floating on top of it. The fish and the sea life inside of it, I know it's not a sea, it's a stream, but work with me. The sea life was very calm and doing just kind of coasting and cruising activity. So in my mind, I saw them floating. Then as we started walking, every time you started getting near the falls, you saw a lot more frenzied activity. And as people were getting ready to go over the falls, fish, there was a much different activity. They were frenzied. They were doing everything they could, look like to fight upstream and not go over the falls. But then what I noticed is as the water was going over the falls and to the bottom, this here down at the bottom of the falls was literally devastation. It was just pounding, crushing water. And I don't know how this desk was there, but there was a desk in one of the falls and it was literally being ripped to shreds by the water. But then 50 yards over beyond the falls, everything was calm and peaceful again. It was like it had recovered. And so this was the stages that I named it. We had falls was in stage 1. And again, my writing's horrible, but I promise you that says floating. My apologies, floating. Work with me, guys. Mm-hmm. Don't judge me for my artistic creativity, just for my ability to explain sales concepts really well. Stage 2 was the falls. 3 is devastation. Okay. And 4 is recovery. Now, the reason I'm explaining this to you is because I need you to understand something really, really important. You may have in your mind an idea of who the person is that would be a perfect person to invest with you. And the thing that I see happen all the time is you're talking to the right person. You may even be talking to them about the right thing. Usually it's at the wrong time. Okay, remember, right conversation, right thing, right person, right time. And so you need to make sure you're having the right conversation with the right person about the right thing at the right time. And here's the things you got to start paying attention to. Is the person who's floating experiencing the same kind of environment as somebody who is going over a falls? Pretty simple no. The person who's floating is asking themselves different questions, having a different conversation. Typically, they're either in denial or just completely unaware that the falls are even coming. So they're thinking things like, wow, those trees are great. That looks awesome. Hey, pass me another beer. Or I don't really have problems because I can't see any. So when you show up going, hey, I know the 10 ways to get you to solve this, they're like, I don't even have that problem. And you have to try to figure out how to help them understand that that problem's coming, right? But we're usually trying to sell them to a solution to a problem they don't know exists yet. Okay, that is what commonly referred to as a message to market mismatch. But you're having the right conversation with the right person, but about the wrong thing at the right time, at the wrong time. Stage 2 is somebody who's about ready to go over the falls. And that's a person who's thinking, holy crap, I missed all the warning signs. I didn't listen to anybody. Help. What am I going to do? I don't want to fall. Do I have a life vest? Do I have this? Throw the beer overboard. I don't want to crash. I don't want to die. And we're having a conversation with this person, typically saying, hey, I have a 12-step formula for you. This guy does not need a 12-step formula. He doesn't need a lecture. He needs a rope. He needs a Band-Aid. He needs you to be able to grab him or her off the raft, pull him on the shore to safety, fix his wounds, and then get him into a process where he can listen to you and teach. So even though you found the right person, maybe even at the right stage, right? But you're having the wrong conversation and at the wrong time. Then, of course, if they happen to get through this and get all the way down to stage 3 in devastation, this is where things get serious. If you're dealing with somebody who's losing all of their money, they're about ready to foreclose, file bankruptcy, get a divorce, who knows, all the dangers and the things that come from losing really bad because you missed all the warning signs. If you're dealing with a health situation, then this is when they're in renal failure in the hospital in ICU. At this point, you just got to hope that they can survive. And if for you, the most important part of this is to understand, where do you fit best? If you're a stage 3 person, that means you're really, really good at dealing with crisis. Okay, and this is something that requires a fair amount of truth and self-talk. Most of you are not good in a crisis, so don't convince yourself that you are, because you don't get brownie points for that. You get added stress and a lot of responsibility that you don't want to deal with. I am good in a crisis. I hate being in a crisis. My wife is fantastic in that environment. I get into a crisis. If I see fire, I'm diving in. I'm going to go run up the store, lose my mind. I'm going to go up and go save the kid. My wife comes across a burning building. She's like, hey, you get a rope, you get a ladder, you call 911, and you go get my husband, please, before he kills himself or somebody else, right? She's great in that environment. What happens when you can get into that environment and pull people to safety? You can put them together in the middle of the worst circumstances. Good news is you can charge whatever you want because they don't have a choice. They're going to die if they don't pay you. The bad news is you typically have an audience that may be so distracted that they can't listen. So you have to be fantastic at capturing people's attention, fantastic at delegating, managing environment, and making things work. Okay? And if you are, God bless you. Okay? If you're more like me, I am a stage 4 guy. I love the recovery phase, because what's the common denominator about people who get to the recovery stage is they've all survived a bad situation. And hopefully they're now ready to listen. Those are the people that have been through the war, got the wounds to tell about it, and hopefully have the willingness to listen to you now before if they don't, they're going back over the next waterfall, right? So this is the place I love to be. They understand the risk, they understand the cost, they understand that they need to invest before they lose it all, right? So I charge pretty good rates for what I do, and I have a willing audience listening to what I'm trying to get them to do, right? So you have to understand, based on what you do, what your offering is, and what kind of person you are, and what kind of service you have, where is your ideal client? What stage, what I call stage of readiness, need, and desire, are they in around actually solving their problem? Are they ready? Do they have a strong need? Do they have a great desire to actually solve their problem? If they don't, you probably don't have a client anyway. So you need to get really clear at where this is. Okay, and I'll give you just a couple of simple examples around what kind of business could be in each. Like I already talked about recovery, somebody who's lost everything, right? Somebody who's in the floating stage is somebody who maybe you are dealing with risk management and you're really good at keeping people educated and compliant. And those people, those are great stage 1 clients, because if you can keep them really well prepared and really well focused so that they stay compliant, you help them save themselves from going over the falls. I have a client who has a medical, he has a medical cleaning company. And in California, at least, Apparently, you have to have all medical hospitals have to be cleaned every inch top to bottom once every 30 days. So literally cleaning every single day. And I don't mean clean, I mean sanitized to this ridiculously high level. And he's got I forgot what it's called, a drone that basically moves throughout the hospital. It measures the success, and it gives them direct feedbacks, and it uploads stuff to the state. And you pay them $50,000 a month for this service. It is a stage 1 service, because $50,000 a month sucks to have to pay that. But it's a whole lot better than paying the $50 million fines that they pay if any of these violations hit. So he, by being a stage 1 master, keeps people out of stage 2 disaster. And those are the kind of things you want to be thinking about. You don't even want to talk to the people who are in the falls, because your business model is designed to keep people further upstream from ever hitting the falls, right? So those are the kind of people who have a service that's in stage 2 is somebody you want to be partners with. So as you come across people, you can refer them there, and then they can fix them and send them back upstream to you, right? So the more you do this, you just you stay in your comfort zone, you stay in your strength of genius, you start having incredible conversations, because you become the expert of the stage that you're in, and you're always having the right conversation with the right person at the right time about the right things. And then the logical conclusion to that is people show up and ready to buy. Right? You all would be probably very disappointed if you listened to my sales calls, because they're not full of wisdom and cool whiz bangs and tactics and tricks. They're literally just me talking to people like I'm talking to you now, because I'm always talking to the right person. And so they show up on my calendar, usually because they were put there by somebody else. And they usually show up excited, anticipated, looking forward to wanting to do something to me. So as long as I don't shoot myself in the foot, they buy. And it's not because I'm a guru. It's because I'm really good at structuring my environment in a world that people show up already predisposed to wanting to buy from me, right? So that's the stages exercise in a nutshell. And we actually have a bonus we're going to give to you. It's called our Leads Made Easy training, which walks you through that concept at a much deeper level. I gave you a 10-minute version of it. This is it's a 5-module training that walks you through how to fine tune it, how to position yourself in it, how to figure out which clients you serve, which stage they're in, how to go find partners that will help serve you in that capacity, and change the game forever. So this is really about helping you be much better at fine tuning who you're targeting and who you're speaking to. And then of course, the kind of conversations that you should be having with them, which then automatically elevates you in their eyes as the expert that you are, which leads them to already wanting to buy from you, as long as you don't screw it up. So how's that look for you, Chuck?
Looks awesome. Hey, I do have a question. So you talk about collaboration a lot. So tell us a little bit about collaboration.
I'll tell you what, first and foremost, given where we are right now in 2020, the year that I don't think anybody could have predicted, we're right this moment as this is being recorded, there's rumors that we could be heading to a second stage of shutdowns of business. And what I read a report the other day that said, if we go through a second stage of businesses, 40% of the businesses that reopen will never open again, because they will not be able to sustain another shutdown and relaunch. What that really means is, as we go into 2021, there's going to be the ripple effect is going to start blowing up on people. By the time we get into 2021, mid-year, you're going to have a lot of businesses that will never recover. And the people who are going to thrive are the ones who decided right now to start preparing to thrive next year. So you got to get serious about taking those actions, and you got to start doing things differently. The marketplace is not the same. People are not responding to ads the way they used to. The Facebook ads, everything online ads, all that stuff that drive traffic only had so much capacity. You have the same amount of ads as there were before, same amount of available clicks, only now you have 10 times as many eyeballs. So you have to find other ways to get people showing up to want to buy with you. And if you'll indulge me another story, it's tend to be how I work best. I had a friend named Craig Davis 25 years ago who had a house built up on a hill. And he had an estimate of, I don't remember the number, let's just say 800 feet that they were going to have to drill to build a well. As they started drilling, they misfired. They realized they had to not go 800, not 3,000, They had to get almost 10,000 feet of drilling, which was a ridiculous amount of expense, rock wheeling, truck, dirt, haul away, everything. But then they own this whole mountain table full of water. So they'll never have to pay for water for the rest of his life. And I thought, wow, that's cool. And it terrified me for a minute because I was like, if I have to go build me a well, I don't even want to spend $800 worth of digging, much less 10,000. But you know what I could do? I could go to Craig's house and plug in my hose or put my cup under the sink, and I can get all the water that I want. And I have taken that approach to business my entire life. There's always somebody who's already got an existing flow of that nice, great, cool water, which are represented by your ideal clients. Somebody somewhere has an existing flow of your ideal needs, and they're willing to partner with you on it because you can help their people in a way that they can't or don't want to. You just have to put in the work to making it go. And so when you show up as a qualified partner to help solve a problem for both the people that they serve and the partner, then you make them a hero to their downline, to their community, to their clients. And that's vital. I have dozens of such relationships, and I always have. That's how I've built every business that I've ever had, made millions of dollars doing so. Here's the key concept. You may have to knock on 10 doors, maybe 100 doors. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's say you knock on 10 doors to find one client. That's fantastic. But then now you've got that client, and now you have to go knock on another 10 doors. While you're knocking on those 10 doors, I'm knocking on 10 doors to find a partner. And when I find that partner, he opens the door to 100 clients. And then I knock on another 10 doors to find another partner who opens up the doors to another 100 or 1,000 clients. And I spend all of my time prospecting for partners while most of you are spending your time prospecting for clients. And my philosophy is there's nothing wrong with prospecting for prospecting for clients unless it comes at the expense of prospecting for partners. So when you do that, you will survive times like the ones that we're in. COVID 2020, well, we know a lot of people who've been circling the wagons trying to protect themselves, or worse yet, a lot of people shutting their doors or having to totally pivot. Our company has doubled and launched a new division as if we're like some brand new company. I mean, who would do that? Who would even think about that in the middle of a time like this, except someone who's got a nice quality existing flow of predetermined buyers that are put there by somebody else, right? That's a great way to live your business. And if you're not living your business that way, then I want to really encourage you to take a good look at what I was just talking about and start thinking through differently. You have to fine tune what you're doing. You can't be a jack of all trades. If you're not known for something specific, then you're not known for anything. And that's always a problem. I'm a big proponent of going an inch wide and a mile deep, whatever you serve. And I have no issues with you having 10 revenue streams or 10 different ways of finding clients or 10 different business models, but you shouldn't be doing that until you've mastered one.
You're doing what you train other people to do.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I strongly advise people to get into. I was making a note. I was talking to somebody a few months back who was a mortgage broker here in the Sacramento area, a pretty big, small player, local, big fish, small pond kind of thing, well known around here. And I had a client who was trying to sell him some services. And he was trying, you always hear in sales, you got to tap into the pain, And this guy's a very well established, pretty polished, drives a nice car, got beautiful suits, looks like $1 million and makes a lot of money, got offices all around town. And guy I was working with say, I can't get this guy to get emotional. And then you have other people who say, well, people don't always get emotional. Some people are just analytical. Well, here's my version of that. First of all, scientifically, the limbic center of the brain, the part that makes your decisions, doesn't process logic. It only processes emotion. So every decision you've ever made, every action you've ever taken was driven by an emotion, not by logic. Now, you might be the person who likes I's dotted, T's crossed, but the reason that you like those I's dotted, T's crossed is because of the feeling that it gives you that then drives the senses to your brain that makes the actions happen. So with that in mind, we reached out to this broker, this very well-established guy who was like, I'm all about the numbers. The only thing that matters to me is the numbers. And we started digging. I was like, look, I basically had that same conversation with him. I said, I'm sure you're all about the numbers, and I'm sure you're really smart about your numbers. What I'm also sure about is those numbers do something for you. Why do these numbers matter? Why do you need to open an office in another city? What does this matter to you? So there has to be something driving you, or this is a waste of everybody's time. And after we started digging, he said, look, I survived 2008 by the narrowest of margins. And it's because I had all my eggs in one basket. And I swore that I will never let that happen to me again. So it's important to me to dominate multiple markets so that I don't ever have to worry about losing one. He said, that's got nothing to do with X's and O's, baby. That's got everything to do with the driving force that matters inside of you. So please make sure that everybody you're talking to has some compelling reason to do what they're going to do with you before you make an offer to them. That's how you get glue inside of a contract, inside of an offering, inside of a position that helps them say, yes, I got to do this and I cannot live without it because you're going to help me, give me the security that I want so that I'm diversified and not pigeonholed into a market in case things go bad, right? Everybody's got that reason. You just need a good quality skill set to dig in and find that reason. And usually you've already got it. You're just too busy trying to be a salesperson instead of just tapping into what really matters to people.
Mm. So tell us about how you do your trainings and how people can find out more about them.
We have something called the Peak Performance Network, and it's an environment. It's an optimization environment. It's not a modular driven program. You don't show up and go through training modules. It's live training environment all the time. And there's two things that I want to offer your people here. One, I want to give you a free 30-day trial in our group, just free membership period. You just show up, you get on our calls. However we can help you, we'll help you. And we just want to help you make sales. Our whole objective is for you to win at getting customers to say yes to you. The other thing that we're doing is that program that I was just talking about called Leads Made Easy, which breaks down the waterfall exercise. I want to give that to you. So it'll be in the show notes down here. Chuck will have access to it for you so you can click on it, take advantage of it. But I only want you to do it. I want you to right now, whatever you're doing, wherever you are listening to this, I want you to pause this or just take a quick second and write down on a journal or wherever you're at, your notepad, and say, I commit to doing this work. If you do this work, I promise you'll never think about prospecting the same way again. It'll change the game for you. And at the very least, it'll get you thinking differently. And then you can reach out and ask questions, and we're happy to help. But take advantage of that. You'll get into our world. You'll see what we're about. And you'll find that there's just a whole other way of doing things. Sales is so much easier.
And I just put the actually I should probably put the chat over here. I just put the info in the chat room, so we'll have that pop up here. So, and then what we'll do is we'll put this so that people can see it. That's really exciting. So they they go to the site and then they get access to both. Is that what you're saying?
I think, well, actually, the link that I just see right here is this wasn't what I was thinking, but by all means, we can put that out there. We have a live event coming up on October 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, and that's what that link is for. It's Make More Sales live event, and it's a 3-day immersive event where we are literally going to walk you through our key processes and strategies around making more sales without getting better at selling. So we're not going to teach you scripts and 10-step processes, tactics. We're literally going to teach you how to strategize the human side of being you to make sales. And before you scratch your head and say, it doesn't even make sense, you got to learn scripts, you got to make this work. I have $250 million of sales that says you don't. So give it a try. Come and check us out for 3 days here. What I'm going to do for you, Chuck, again, I didn't even know that was what we were putting in there. I want to get you the Leads Made Easy. So if you don't have that link, I'll make sure I send that over to you. But this here, it's a $97 ticket price. It's a $197 for a VIP experience at the event. If you type in save 50 SAVE 50, or VIP 50, you'll get half off the ticket. Just so you can get you get VIP ticket at regular price, and come and check us out for $97 for 3 days. You cannot lose. If I can't get you an ROI on $97 and 3 days, I'll get you $97 back. Plus, I'll buy you lunch. But quite honestly, you'll walk away like a champ. Your game will be changed forever in how you position yourself to win your customers.
Awesome. So is there another link, or should that link the one they go for?
The one that you just put in there, that'll take you to the Make More Sales live event page. And then I will also send you a follow-up with the Leads Made Easy link, which is the link that I thought we had.
Awesome. So I'll put that in a prominent place for people to see and keep.
Absolutely.
All right. So this has been awesome. I know that our people, particularly those that want to take that next step and haven't been able to figure it out. I hear a lot of people tell me that they work really hard, but they don't seem to get ahead, whether it be in sales or real estate or whatever, that they just like reach a level. And just listening to you, it seems to me that level is geared by they're trying to do sales the old-fashioned way, rather than building relationships and solving problems with people where they're at, and not solving it where they theoretically want to be yet, but solving it from where they're at and what they have ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's, what, I'll say this: if that's your experience, it's not your fault. The whole sales industry has been screwing us over for decades, telling us this is how we have to do it. This is how we have to do it, and you just don't. God didn't make you that way. God made you as you are so that you can enroll people wherever you are based on who you're being right now. It's all about who you're being, not what you're saying. It makes a difference.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being with us. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with people for no charge. And I can tell you this, that it makes a difference for people, regardless of whether they buy into anything else, because you've given them a gift, which is another way to look at things. Another way to look at their life, look at their profession, look at their sales process. And like you said, everybody's selling. And I've got to sell. I mean, literally, I've got 5 kids, and I had to sell them all the way along just to come home on time, and to clean their room, and to do their homework. And I had to sell my wife. Just like you, I had to sell my wife on that she should be interested in marrying me, even though I was a lot fatter than somebody else. It even had bald head even back then. But it was a successful sale, but I wasn't trying to sell her. I was trying to be related to her, so.
Exactly.
I appreciate it very much, and our people appreciate it. So we'll look forward to this, and we'll see you all on the next episode of the Real Estate Expert Summit. But I recommend that you get in touch with Jim Padilla, because he does have a program, a system, we could say a system, a way of being that will make a difference in your business and your life.
All day long. So look forward to it. Reach out, join us at the event, reach out and say hello. I'd love to help you out.
Thank you all.